Hi there, how's it going? Now, I would say in general self-defense terms, the most dangerous thing that we're most likely to run up against is the knife. And I would say it's the most requested thing that comes up, whether that's in class or at workshops or on our member channel. And in fact, on the member channel, we've just finished filming some work on working against the knife grip, working in very close with the knife. And of course, if you want to get access to that and all the other instructional content, just click the join button below for details. Now, nobody underestimates the danger of the knife. It's very easy to get one. They're very easy to carry around, very easy to use, even accidentally. You know, someone can shut their eyes and do this and it still presents quite a threat. So there are different approaches to knife defense. Generally speaking, there's two things that you see. The first thing is people say the best defense against the knife is to run. You should always run. Well, the minute you get always in front of something, then I'm wary straight away, because context is key to everything. The second thing is we often see people approach this from the perspective of technique. They'll show a technique. Now, the techniques might be good or they might not. You can always pick holes in technique anyway. But the thing is, the technique works against a very specific attack. So they'll say to their partner, right, you stab like this and I'm going to do that. And generally you find those techniques tend to work every time because, well, that's how techniques work and that's how they're demonstrated. But of course, if we put that into context again, then okay, your technique works against this, but what if as the person is coming in, they suddenly do this or change direction, very easy to do with the knife, then you've got to switch halfway through to another technique. Perhaps you've got to change your stance a little bit, all that kind of thing. So techniques are great when everything is lined up. Life being what it is, that's rarely the case. The danger is that techniques offer a very simple solution to a complex problem. As we know, Systema works more from a principle base. We work from our core pillars of posture, movement, tension, relaxation and breathing, and it's how we adapt each of those to respond to the immediacy of the situation rather than thinking we've got to do a set technique. So what I thought I'd do for this month's vlog is go through 10 knife defense situations and look at some of the strategies we might employ for each. The basic principle always, of course, is avoid contact with the knife as much as you can. Get the body out of the way, whether that means creating space or whether that means we're in close, having enough relaxation in the body in order to be able to, if nothing else, limit the damage caused by the knife. Because as I say, no one is under any illusions that knife defense is easy. No one thinks they're stab proof or cut proof or anything else. But a lot of our work is about increasing your odds of survival rather than giving you some mythical 100% perfect technique. Anyway, let's get started. 10 situations. The first thing, the most important thing in any self-defense situation, of course, is awareness. So first thing we're going to look at is spotting who's carrying a knife. For this drill, we need a group of people and a few knives. Let's say we've got 15 people. We might secretly give 3 of them a knife. The drill is they put the knife on their person somewhere. The group walks around, everyone mingles, and it's up to the people to spot who's carrying the knife. People, if they're trying to conceal something, often there might be some sort of tension or something in the posture or body language that gives that away. So that's the first thing we're looking out for. The second thing is you can very easily conceal a knife in your boot, for example. However, if you want to get that knife out quickly, then hang on, I've just got to undo my laces and, you know. So generally speaking, if people are carrying a knife to deploy it, it's going to be somewhere accessible, somewhere where they can reach it and get it out quick. So this starts to teach people, A, that body language idea, but also where is the most likely place for a knife to be carried. Of course, your first line of defense is, do I think that person is carrying a knife? Even if I think it's a possibility, then that is going to inform my reactions and actions accordingly. It might be that at that point I want to create space. It might be that at that point I want to close in. So step number 1, knife awareness. From there, we'll split the groups down. So now we'll have one person will turn their back. There'll be 3 people behind them. One of them secretly has the knife. The person turns, the 3 people approach. Which one is carrying the knife? So this is where we now have to start making decisions. If we suspect or we know someone is carrying the knife, what do we do? Are we going to close in to deal with that, or are we going to make space and escape? Generally speaking, of course, if the knife is around, you don't want to be there. What if it's a situation where you can't run? You might have friends and family with you. This might be your job. You might be working on a door. You might be LEO, all those kind of things. So you don't always have the choice to run. So that's the next one. As the person is coming in, maybe we can have them start drawing the knife now, and you've got to make your decision. Do I stay or do I go? Number 3 is we work against the draw. So we can work in that group, or we can just work in pairs, or we can keep this in the big group still. All of those situations we can use. Now, as the person goes to draw the knife, we're going to move in and deal with it. We're going to stop the draw. We're going to work into some kind of takedown or control of the person, and hopefully again that will resolve the situation. Now, of course, you don't want to get totally stuck on one person. If you're taking that person down, you still need to be able to monitor what's going on around you and potentially deal with any other threat that is coming in. Number 4, we've not been able to get there to prevent the draw, so the knife is now out, but we've got a little bit of distance, we've got a little bit of time to work. Best advice here is to pick something up or find something you can use to assist in your defense. It will increase your odds if you have something you can use against the knife rather than going up bare hand. So it could be a chair, it could be a stick, it could be a book, it could be anything and everything. But of course, you have to practice with that. If you've never picked up a chair to use it before, you might be able to do something with it. But if you've done a little bit of training in how you can use it, then again, you've got a much better chance. You're increasing your odds. And that's what a lot of this training is about. Not finding the perfect technique, but increasing your odds of survival, because nothing is ever 100%. Number 5, let's assume we haven't got anything or we've not had time to pick something up. So now the knife is coming towards us in a threatening way. It might be the person isn't actually thinking about stabbing us, but it's a threat to get your money or anything else. So one option here is to try and get that knife out of the way and then move in on the person. So you could try a couple of things. You might try hitting into the arm and hand against the knife. You might try to knock the arm out of the way and then move in on the person. With a little bit of training, it's quite easy in that setting. In context of being threatened, of course, there's lots of other factors to go into as well, which is why it's very important to have some element of fear control in your training as well, being able to do this stuff under pressure. So if you're going to go to hit the hand with this kind of movement, don't think I have to knock the knife out of the hand, otherwise it's a total failure. The knife going out of the hand is a bonus. The important thing is you've given a shock to the person. It's moving the knife offline, even if it's only for a second, and that gives you your opportunity to move in and take control. Number 6, we've got the knife threat, but now the person is closer. They're right up in your face and they're sort of pressing the knife against you. To be honest, in terms of knife defense, from my perspective, this is about as easy as it gets. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's the easiest out of all the situations, because I know exactly where the knife is. The person has brought their hands and their body in close to me, so I've got lots of options to disarm, to take the person down, whatever we need to do. And indeed, this is one of the major preparation exercises for knife defense, because it gets the body used to relaxing against contact with the knife. This is a physical exercise, of course, but also this is very much working on that fear of the knife as well. Number 7 is, again, if we have time, the person has brought the knife out and they're moving in towards us. We've got that little gap. Then we don't wait for the person to come in, but we immediately go on the offensive. A thing that we've had that has worked twice with 2 of our guys separate incidents is as the person comes in, they'll interrupt the movement and cause some sort of damage or injury. In both of those cases, they've got a good kick in on the knee, the head come forward, bang, follow up, and the person is down. Now, again, you can present that as a technique, which is fine. It's reasonably good technique because a knee is a knee after all. Of course, you need to practice that. But you also need to build into that what happens if it goes wrong. What happens if you slightly miss with your kick? What happens if you hit a person and they still keep on coming? Those sort of things. So again, even though you might work a technique in there, it doesn't mean you should gamble everything on that technique working. So that technique, if you like, that kick and then follow-up punch is built in to all the rest of the movement. Number 8 is working against the slash, and now things start to get even more difficult because of course the knife is moving at speed and the trajectory can be very unpredictable. It's very easy for the knife to change direction. So if we can't make distance and escape, then we need to close in very quickly. Ideally, we work to the outside. We're moving ourselves away, of course. We want to move the target out of the line of attack. We want to close in on the person. We want to get in position where it's difficult for them to follow up with another slash. And we want to get into a position where we can do something drastic to them. Because the knife is the dangerous thing here, but it's the person who is wielding the knife. So yes, we want some element of control over the knife, or at the least we want to know where it is, but we need to incapacitate the person. Number 9 is the stab, and this is where we get into a favourite thing that's said in martial arts time and time again, what is called the sewing machine attack, these repeated quick stabs. And I've heard people say, well, this is how everyone attacks you with the knife. I wouldn't say that. From my experience, I've been in probably half a dozen knife incidents, and only one of them involved that kind of attack. But of course it is an issue and we have to deal with it. So again, really it's the same idea as the slash. I need to get the body out of the way of the knife in some way, but in such a way that doesn't lock me up. So this idea sometimes of, you know, I want to block down and I get the body out of the way, it's kind of okay for that one movement, but it sort of fixes me in place. I'm a little bit stuck in that stance. The knife can change very quickly, probably cut my arm, come up to the face or something else. So I want to be doing that, but I'm moving out of the way, and at the same time I want to close that distance and get in on the person. So basically whatever sort of stab it is, we really need to close in, shut it down on that first movement. Don't let the person get into that rhythm of whatever it is. You really got to be in and close it down quick. And number 10 is being in the unfortunate position of working against multiple opponents. Virtually impossible without getting cut in some way, I would say. But again, our method is to try and increase our odds of survival, not to find the perfect technique. So here, of course, we're going to do all those things like maybe use one person as a shield, be aware of our movement, be aware of the position of other people, use any object we can. And in this kind of situation, I mean, that really is life or death. Any knife attack is. So in this kind of situation, you really have got to be prepared to incapacitate people. Whatever you do, it all comes back to the 4 pillars of being able to move freely, being able to move in a way that you can deliver power, being able to move in a way that you can avoid getting touched or cut with a knife as much as you can. And of course, controlling your psychological state, your fear response, your breathing, your nervous system, everything else. And that general awareness of where everything is and what is happening, and being able to respond to it as it's happening or as it starts to happen. So you're not just stood waiting there for one attacker, 2 attackers, this kind of thing. But yeah, that's going to be the most challenging situation for anyone. So those, very briefly, very quickly, are 10 knife strategies. Let's talk a little bit about how we train and prepare for those. The first thing to say is if you're working against a frenzied attacker, whether it's stabbing, slashing or whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be a knife, it could be a screwdriver. I worked on building sites for a while and I saw an incident with a screwdriver once that really stayed with me. So any of those situations where someone's really going for it, unless you're very skilled or very lucky, or both, and you tend to find that the more skilled people are, the luckier they get. Unless you are extremely skilled, it's very difficult to stop that attack without incapacitating the other person. That's my opinion. This, of course, provides a challenge when it comes to training and testing, because we're not looking to hurt our training partners. So to some extent, you can work with pads. You can do things like work the marker pen drill, you know, to pick up speed, to start doing that stuff. But in each of those cases, you're still not delivering the sort of power into the person, particularly into their knees or into their face or anything that is going to stop them. So we always have to bear that in mind. So one aspect of the training is the testing, but you have to develop these attributes before you start testing. And this is where we see a lot of the misunderstanding with Systema. Sometimes it's genuine, sometimes it's deliberate, because, well, that's the internet again. You know, so we see someone standing there and allowing the knife or knives to come and touch them, and they start moving the body around, and people say, well, this is really crap knife defense. It isn't knife defense. No one in Systema thinks this is knife defense, because no one is going to willingly stand there and let 3 people come up and, you know, slowly place knives against them. But what this is a training exercise to start developing that ability to move the body, to understand the direction that force is coming in, and to some extent to work to nullify it or to lessen the impact. So that body movement is the root of everything else, because any tension in the body against the knife just makes it easier for the other person to cut you. From there, you can start working against movement with the knife, and basically what you're looking to do here is to find the best places to move into. So if the knife is coming in this way, is it better for me to move inside that arc? Is it better for me to try and move outside it? Where is the knife going to go next? So you start building in this recognition of movement patterns. So we learn to start predicting that both through seeing, but more importantly through contact and feel. So there'll be different types of sensitivity exercise alongside that as well. You can then start working against the person, whether you're applying strikes, whether you're going into takedowns, whether you're wrapping the arm, you're going to control it, all those sort of things. So I guess you could say there that gets a little bit more technique-y, although there are still principles involved in that rather than just straightforward techniques. And you might see drills like 3 people attacking 1 person with the knife, for example, and people will say, well, this isn't realistic. Well, again, this is a drill, because if we want to increase the pressure, we can work against 1 person. Okay, that's good. If we want to increase pressure, we can up the speed on that. We can maybe put some gear on. Yeah, and that's good as well. But a really excellent way to increase the pressure is to work against 2 or 3 people, because now I'm no longer fixated here. I've also got to think about this person. So this starts to build out awareness of what's going on, because I don't think I've ever been involved in a fight that was just 2 people. You know, there's always other people around. They might be joining in, they might just be spectating. If instead we've got this idea of the movement and working as we move, then I'm already being prepared for the other person. I might even be lining the other person up in some situations. So once you start building these attributes, then of course you can start testing them out. You can put them into all the various types of sparring, into the testing work. You can start putting them into your scenario work. All those things I've spoken about before on the channel. So there's a few thoughts on knife defense. Well, 10 to be precise. Quite brief. Obviously it's a very big subject, but I hope that gives you some ideas. I think the important thing is, whatever you do in terms of self-defense, #1 priority is your awareness. If you can see things developing, you don't get to that stage of being surprised. Also work on your fear control and fear response. So when something does happen, even if you see it coming, you're not overwhelmed. You're not going to freeze in place. Always look for a way out, of course, if you can get out of a situation, whether that's by creating space, running away, getting away, whether that's by talking and all the rest of it, then, you know, these are all good skills to have as well, and are all things that can be built into your training. As always, if you do have any comments, questions or suggestions, intelligent ones, please pop them down below and I'll do my best to answer. If you want to look at our instructional content that is being put out pretty much every week, click the join button and that will give you all the details about the member channel. Sign up to that, you can ask me questions direct and I'll film the answer for you. So, thanks for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe. Stay safe and I'll see you next time.